morning and welcome to Jaguar News 4. We've got a lot to cover on today's agenda, so we're going to start with the weather because we know that's what you're all hanging out to hear. We expect it to be sunny in the north and rainy in the south. We expect clouds to arrive and then to clear. For the top temperature in the day, we're looking between 18 and 25 degrees over the next few days, and then overnight between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius. Isn't it great spring has arrived? Now on to more catastrophic news. July and August. Yes, we're in September, that's right. So July and August have been busy months for rising waters across the world. 125 flooding events over 385 locations in more than 20 countries. Unfortunately, over 920 people have lost their lives in places from Belgium to West Germany to Mumbai to the Nuristan province in Afghanistan and the Henan province in China. Other areas affected with floods and landslides have included Pakistan, Iran, Yemen, Japan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and places with names I cannot pronounce. There's been a tropical depression, Hurricane Nora, on the Pacific Ocean and is currently affecting Mexico from Culiacan to Colima before it heads out to sea at a speed of 30 miles, otherwise known as 48 kilometers per hour. Over on the other side, the Atlantic side, the tropical storm Hurricane Ida has made landfall at 142 miles per hour, or 230 kilometers per hour, from the Louisiana coast to New Orleans. It is reported that the storm is a Category 4 storm, and it's knocked out electricity in New Orleans, blown roofs off houses, and even reversed the flow of the Mississippi River. Over to Greece, there have been 118 arrests that have been made for starting wildfires that have been burned through 125,000 hectares of forest and arable land, with over 2,000 people evacuated. The country recorded a temperature of 47.1 degrees Celsius and noted it as its worst heat wave since 1987. Wildfires in California are outdoing the 2020 destruction, with 6,810 fires recorded, burning 1,680,620 acres across the state. Now this follows the January 2021 records that showed 297 fires burned 1,171 acres, making it more than triple the number of fires and 20 times the acreage for the 5 years average for January. Isn't it winter in January on that side of the world? Ooh. Oh, so much bad news. Okay, in news closer to home, New South Wales have recorded 1,272 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, with 7 more deaths, bringing their total to too many. Victoria has now scored over 200 COVID positive cases in the last 24 hours, with a further death. New Zealand is battling their reoccurrence of COVID-19, though they seem to be getting on top of it quite quickly, as Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has a tendency to do. Good on her. And the last, the result of the Hurricane Ida over in wherever it is, I don't know if it was New York was the flooding, Los Angeles, wherever the flooding was, I don't know now. It's just too much to take in. But they had basements filling with water. There was somewhere in the country where they were taking their horses to level 2 of their house because of the amount of flooding that had been occurring. And then they were being rescued with their horses from the upstairs level of their houses. It's horrendous. The news is horrendous. All around the world, everything is just so negative. And you expect me to stand here and read this out night after night after night and not be affected by it? Well, I think you need to get yourself a new newsreader, because I think I can't do this anymore.
Have you ever found yourself in a position of being a stranger to your own life? Have you looked around and wondered, who are these people, really? If that sounds like you, I have the perfect training program to help you answer these questions. Hello, I am Professor Jasper Richard Leopold, and my new training program, 101 How to Navigate the Human World, A Guide for Kittens, will give you the tools you need to understand your human family and help you to fulfill your life goal of worshipped God. In this 6-module course, we will spend time discussing each of the species in your household, sorting out the type of mama you have with the help of ancient science Ayurveda, and then we will focus on how your mama behaves when in balance and when out of balance, and of course, what you can do to help her. Once you can understand the basic principles of qualities and elements, you will be able to apply it to every household member, from the canine to the kitten down the street you've been hanging out to meet. Come join me on my adventures of education and entertainment at www.wiseoldhands.global.online. 101 How to Navigate the Human World, A Guide for Kittens. See you in there. Meow.
Okay, welcome back. I have some stories that I think you'll enjoy. Germany's winemakers have had the worst vintage year due to the catastrophic flooding. Turning lemons into lemonade, some growers are selling bottles of caked with original mud, bottles of wine. Prices have reached €500, which is about $800 Australian, per bottle, for a dirty bottle. They say the wine is still good though. They reportedly have sold an empty barrel, smeared with mud, for €750, which is about $1,200 Australian. Wow, if I could make some jam and smear it in a puddle, see if I could fetch those sorts of prices. Dogs becoming addicted to Valium is not a new TV reality show, but it is a reality for some doggy households. Last year, as Victoria locked down, dog purchases increased. This means that many pets did not know life before COVID lockdowns, and unlike cats, they do not appreciate their own company for hours on end. As their owners have returned to their workplaces several times between 6 lockdowns, dog anxiety has hit the scales, and pharmaceutical manufacturers of doggy anti-anxiety medication have been rubbing their paws together. Hang on, wasn't I reading something about the National Cabinet meeting going to the doghouse? Are our politicians working for the dogs so as to keep locking us down to placate the canines? Is there a dog union blackmail going on with our Victorian ministers? No? You sure? You quite sure on that? Alright, okay. For our last piece of news today, we have our reporter out on the street coming to talk to us about the hot topic of the day, Please welcome Sophia. Hello, Sophia. What's the hot topic of the day? Okay, thank you very much, and yes, welcome to the hot news topic of the day. I've been following up a rumour about 2% of electricians in Queensland are women, and they've been facing, would you be surprised, a lot of patriarchal discrimination, harassment, etc. that tends to happen in male-dominated industries. And this report that I was reading, this woman was saying that she turned up to work one day and there was this graffiti on the wall, and she looked at it and she said, "What does that even mean?" Which goes to show the intellectual level of the graffiti artist who wrote that on, that he couldn't even communicate appropriately to her what his intended message was. Anyway, so the unions are fighting. So the main issue is that there are not enough toilets for women on work sites. And so the union is fighting for toilets with soap and sanitary bins. Like, that indicates that I can understand no sanitary bins in men's toilets, but no soap. Like, I thought that was really funny that we were, having to advocate for soap in women's toilets. Toilets for women and have soap. I reckon the men will all want to use the soap. Anyway, so unions fighting for that, and it doesn't surprise me because we were only just talking the other week about 100 years ago, the first woman was elected into politics, and it took 30 years for them to have a women's toilet. These women had to leave and go home to go to the toilet and come back to the meetings because there were no women's toilets. And the men said, well, there's not going to be any more women, so it took 30 years to get toilets for women. That wasn't us talking about it? Oh, maybe that was with Annabelle Crabb. She was in her podcast and TV show Misrepresented. Anyway, so again, it's not new, because if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, which I highly recommend you've seen, which is about the mathematical engineer women of the 1960s working for NASA. And the coloured women didn't have toilets. They had to go out yonder to go to the toilet. And, that was a really good film. If you haven't seen Hidden Figures, I highly recommend Hidden Figures. Anyway, so back to topic. What was I saying? So electricians in Queensland fighting for toilets and soap and discrimination. That's where we were at. So here's my suggestion for women in any industry around the world. If you're facing patriarchal dominance, discrimination, etc., because they think that the God-given tools we were born with is of lower quality than their hose, then this is what you want to talk to these guys about. So when somebody says something to you that is inappropriate, you should say to them, "What would your mother say about you talking like that to me?" And for mothers who happen to hear that their son is being patriarchal or discriminatory or raping women or sexually harassing or violence or any of those sorts of horrendous things that men do to women, and some women do to men, so, take it the other way if you like as well. If you're a mother of one of these children, I invite you to pull them aside and clip them over the ear. And if that doesn't work, I suggest you say to them, "I gave you your penis and I can take it away." Now, I've also done a bit of research, and a well-known psychiatrist, one of those who deals with your head, Sigmund Freud. Now, Sigmund Freud would say to you that if you're harassing women, there is some unresolved issue in your relationship to your mother. So he would suggest you go home and talk to your mother immediately. Great. Thanks, Sophia, for coming all that way to share your information with us. We look forward to your hot topics next time. From Jaguar News 4, it's a good night from me and a good night from him. Good night. Good night.